All right. With having said all of that and got everyone properly introduced this morning, you are very important to us, and we appreciate you coming in, taking your Friday morning and spending that time with me here. So let's make this a valuable time experience, okay? Let's get to the agenda. The first thing that I want to talk about is this is the You Can Make It webinar, and we're going to make this an interactive learning experience. In fact, when I closed last week, I mentioned that we had done a metallic type, and I say that in quotes, a metallic type presentation before, and Sheila had asked about that, and so we're actually going to do that. That's part of the whole interactive learning experience, okay? And we'll make sure that's cool. All right. The next thing is we're going to strive for mastery. I'll talk about that just a little bit, and it's important to show you how, and it's important to show you why. And we're going to play a little bit today. I'm kind of in a mood to do that, and so I'm going to play just a little bit on the canvas, and we'll have some fun with that. And that's kind of what I wanted to do in response to this question. That was already scheduled. You're going to see that in just a second, okay? Oh, I meant to change that for this picture right here. Adam, I'm sorry. Adam had actually, Adam had posted a really nice YouTube video picture here and took advantage of the preview feature that we have. And so that was pretty cool. Hello, Jonathan. Glad to have you as well. So this is a great example. This is an attention getter. Here's the thing you have to understand about YouTube. YouTube has made this transition. YouTube used to be the second best search engine on the planet. It still is. It still ranks number 2 for search engines. And so when somebody's looking to answer a question, they will YouTube, or they'll ask the question in Google, and the first thing that'll pop up is a YouTube video. When that happens, now there's a battle for attention. But it starts with the search. And so there's been a transition that's made in the last couple of years of people giving better looking splash images, thumbnail images right here. I call them splash. That tells you how old I am. But this image right here, that is the image that appears when you do a search for a YouTube video. These are getting better, and they're getting to be more informative, and they're more attention getting, and they stand out better than they did before. It's really important that you take advantage of that. Start to move your clients to more attractive looking kind of YouTube videos. So Adam, thank you so much for being able to do that, put that in the group, because it clearly illustrates what we've been talking about for the last several months about making sure that you understand what results you're looking for and what that outcome should be, because too oftentimes we're staring at that blank screen. When you've had these kinds of explanation, and that's part of the mastery part, when you've had this kind of an explanation, when you're staring at that blank screen, you don't have to stare at it anymore. It makes it easier for you to be able to progress forward, okay? All right, having said that, I do want to mention this, and I skipped over it, but I'm coming back to it, and that is always look for solutions and not solutions. Don't immediately assume, and we said this last week, but don't immediately assume that the tool's broke because it didn't do what you thought it was going to do. And it happens every week. Somebody will have an issue, and it's like, just do it like this. And so always look for solutions and not situations. It's easy to blame the tool. Rarely is it the tool, usually it's the process of the tool. And so I just use this hashtag. I've used it for a long, long time. Solutions, not situations. And let's make sure we focus on finding solutions because it's pretty cool. Nadine, good morning. Experts begin with the end in mind. We're going to talk about this one more time today, and an expert at the desired outcome. But I'm going to show you some tools that you can use to do that, okay? And I think that's important for you to know that. Experts know the desired outcome, and they know the desired result. So we're going to look at that. There's plenty of places where you can become the expert of the outcomes. And I pointed this out, interestingly enough. Ken had asked earlier about t-shirts, and so I'd already planned to talk about this under prints. And here is the t-shirts right here under Teespring shirt. And so that's a good place for you to be able to get a start on templates to make sure that you start with prints and then go to Teespring shirt. One of the most commonly asked questions in the group is, where is that t-shirt tool? It's right there, okay? POD means print on demand. We have spent several months talking about different print on demand providers. And because when you are in this print area right here, anything on this list will require that you work with a print on demand provider. I was talking with a fellow yesterday. We were talking about postcards, and he said, I found the best postcard provider that does the best offset printing possible. And so this is what I do. And that's, I call that a partnership. I don't have an offset printer sitting in my spare bedroom, so I have to partner with somebody who can do that offset printing. But whenever you have anything that falls in this category, anything from a rack card, greeting cards, loyalty cards, anything that's on this list right here, postcards are a big deal. The secret to postcards, in case you were all wondering, is make them big. Because if they're the same size as envelopes, they get lost in the junk mail in the mail. But a postcard that is oversized makes a big difference. And I used to, when I called on businesses all the time, this is great. You can use this. This is a tool that you can have. Okay, so I'm going to give this to you for free. When I called on businesses all the time, there's always somebody that meets you at the door. They're sitting in a desk. There's somebody that's going to meet you at the door. Unless it's a car dealership, then they're going to come out and meet you at your car. But most of the time, there's somebody that's going to meet you at the desk, and that person is affectionately referred to as the gatekeeper. What a terrible title for somebody. And so what I would do is I would meet that person. I would talk to them. I would write their name down, and I would send them a postcard. And that postcard, in my case, had should I tell you this? It had a giant gorilla on the front of it. And when I would go back a week later, that postcard would be sitting on her desk someplace, very prominently on the desk. And I would say, so you noticed my postcard, I posed for that, just like that. And, but postcards are incredibly powerful and can be used in a great way that way. So it's one of those things that nobody's focusing attention on right now, but it's still an incredibly powerful tool. But it does require that you have somebody that can provide a good, high quality postcard for you. And you've got every option from a really amazing offset printer to Vistaprint. So you can pick a print on demand provider there. But it's a good opportunity for you to partner with somebody that when you're looking for outcomes and results, you've got to have a good provider that does this. Okay? Does that make sense to everybody? That gave me a chance to get a drink. All right, so I can extend my voice as far as possible. Before we go any further, I must say something. I apologize for the personal nature of this. I woke up this morning with the side of my head swollen up with a toothache. So if I have to wrap up soon, that will be the reason. It's excruciating right now. And but I was determined we were going to do this morning. Okay. That's my disclaimer for the morning. All right. This is an example of becoming an expert of the outcome or the results. When I look at this template for this Facebook ad, what's my first concern? We've talked about this already. What's my first concern? I want you to start to learn how to identify these things. What's my very first concern? The font size is okay. It's okay. I'm going to show it to you in just a second in an actual mock-up, which helps drastically. But there may be, we're bordering right on too much text, right? Yeah, there might be too much copy. There might be too much text right here. When you put it in here, this being the large ad and having more blank space down here might get you by with that. It might, okay? But we're right on the edge. We're right on the edge. There's never too much white space, Rob. I'm not a fan. I'm a fan of white space. I'm gonna show you an amazing thing you can do with this in just a second, okay? Now I'm looking at this going, well, what could I change? What could I eliminate? Because I want to master what? I want to master the outcome and the results. I want to master the outcome. This is my outcome right here. Remember, the outcome is the image. The results are what am I going to get the person to do with the image? Yeah, I've already got cloth on my tooth right now. I've tried all of the tricks that everybody's talking about here this morning. But thank you for your input. I appreciate it. I do appreciate the fact that you care. But I have this right here, and I've got to pay very careful attention to this. This is going to be maybe too much text because they're going to read that button as a text, right? They're going to read that button as a text. So what if I could do this? What if I could do that? What did I do? Does anybody see what I do? Oh, y'all missed it. I removed the top line, replaced it with a special font. Then I removed this comment right here, learn how to get, and I put it up here. I took it off the ad. I put it in this. This is really trying to get people to stop long enough to get, this is to get the attention. Good question, Nadine. We're going to talk about that one later too. That actually, you're going to see that we've intended to talk about that today too. That's on the agenda. Wanting to know if the link is clickable. I'm going to address that in just a little bit. But do you see how I've taken advantage? Again, what am I looking for? I'm looking for results. I want people to click on this and find out how to get massive sales and downloads and website clicks. I want to know how are they going to do that. I want them to take action. Up here, I've got this with a discount code, blah, 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 up here at the top. Over here, I've changed this, and now it looks different, right? Does that make sense? Are y'all paying attention? Don't worry about my tooth anymore. But are you paying attention to what's happening here? I want you to see this because this is incredibly important that you get this. If I make the button bigger, I'm making the text bigger. And when I make the text bigger, what happens? I'm filling up that space with text. And when I fill up the space with text, then I'm going to not get banned by Facebook anymore. They're just not going to send it to anybody. It's going to violate that 20% rule. So one of the things that I can do to reduce the amount of text that I have is I can take this top line right here and I can turn it into this. By the way, that's an actual font. Okay, this learn how to get is an actual font. Make sense? This is what I want you to see right here, because there's this really cool program called Facebook Font Changer. And this is where I got that text from. I typed it in up here, and then it allows me to copy, and I can paste that into this top line on Facebook. How many of you knew that that tool existed? That's what I'm here for. If I'm going to become a master of the outcome and the results, if I'm going to become a master of the outcome and the results, remember that was our goal up here, become an expert at the outcome and the results, then I'm going to have to learn little tricks like this, because my client may insist that we have all of this text. Well, we still have all of the text. We didn't violate the 20% rule in Facebook. I've got the font changer link is right down here at the bottom. So somebody capture that and post that for me if you would, please. It's not within Facebook. It's a URL that allows you to be able to create a special font. Thank you, Michelle. That allows you to be able to create a special font and put that font in the actual copy or in the actual copy on the Facebook ad. This is a little bit larger than it would appear, but does this link to this? Let me ask you that question first. Does this link well with this? So you're following the flow from here. It does exactly the same thing over here, but don't worry about violating Facebook rules. Is this going to get my attention better than this does? So if you're going to provide outcome and results for your clients, which is all they care about, that's all they care about, then you want to make sure that you have all of these little tools that you can use and that they can help you. Okay? Does that work for everybody? And it's just called FB Font Changer. It's available right here. There's a few of them. This is the one I've always used. I've used it for a long time. I don't use it often. And if you don't use it often, it becomes very effective. If you use it a lot, then it's not going to be nearly as effective. All right, just one of those little tips that I thought would be very beneficial to you this morning, and I wanted to be able to share with you how to accomplish this. What do I do if my text violates or it's too much, or I know it exceeds that 20% rule? I might be able to take part of my text and move it into here and do it so that it gets attention. I'm not as worried about looking okay because the rest of this is all dictated to me by Facebook anyhow. So, but that's good to know, Tony. That's good to know. Tony shared a link here with letting you know if those fonts work well together. I'm a big fan of contrasting when they don't work. That's not always by design, though. All right, the next thing that we want to talk about when we go to the Canvas, actually Sheila had asked about the, yeah, everything's fine. I can't find anything. I don't see anything that was broke or anything that makes any sense. I don't know, just one of those things that happens. But like I said, I'm literally the only person on this entire block that is in a house today. And so I think sometimes people might see this as a neighborhood where nobody's at home during the day. And I'm always at home. All right, let's get to the Canvas. I want to talk about this little thing that Sheila had asked about earlier. And there's a process that you go through in order to achieve those metallic colors. And we're going to talk about that process in just a minute. It also enables us to be able to practice using some tools that you find on the toolbar that we don't frequently talk about. These can be extremely helpful, okay? And they can be extremely helpful. And so we're gonna break down these a little bit, and we're going to talk about how we can use those to achieve these kinds of results, okay? And I did this really quickly. This was a 1 minute gig this morning. And so, but I want you to see something really cool with this. Notice how much different this looks when you change the background. We talked about backgrounds 2 weeks ago, and backgrounds really matter. Do you see the difference in how this object looks depending on which background it's on? And now do you understand why I don't like to use white? Yeah, I had a little fun with this. So I knocked this out. This is actually putting these three images together to create that. All right. This looks better than just this plain ball right here. Looks better. Takes seconds to do this. It was really simple. I'm going to take you through that process in just a minute. Then I decided to do this. I want to just walk you through the process of how do I achieve this and what steps do you have to go through in order to do that. And by the way, this one was really interesting because this coffee cup is not round. It's not round. You'll sometimes run into that when you're looking at images that you'll think that's a circle and it's not. You'll think that this coffee cup's perfectly round, but all that has to happen is for the camera, when they take the image, when they shoot the image, all that has to happen is for it to be 1 degree off of top dead center, and the image will no longer be round. Everybody understand that? Doesn't take but just a slight, and I mean a slight change, and then the image is not round. I'm going to show you how to deal with that. Okay. I was going to walk through this process for another reason, and then I noticed that the image is not perfect, and so I'm going to show you a trick for fixing that. Okay. And we're going to combine some tools together in order to do that. Some other things I want to show. We had somebody mention the other day in the group that it would be nice if we had different numbers and things that you could change the colors on. Those are called vectors, and we have a bunch of them. And so there's 3 categories that we don't ever talk about. And so I decided that we would talk about those today. We talk about the buttons, we talk about the blocks, and we talk about the logos, so that you would know that they're there. Okay, does that sound good? Then we'll do whatever tips and tricks we come up with, or any questions that people have as we go will be kind of cool. Okay, so if you're all good with that, then I am ready to move to the canvas and we can play for just a minute, because that's literally what we're going to do today. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to jump back over here and share the correct screen with you as soon as I get that up here. Now, this is trick number 1. In order to make this right here easy for me to remove this center right here, I just simply dropped a circle in it, made the circle match the circle of the top of the cup. Show you how to do that in just a second. Then save the images, re-imported it, and then used the background removal tool and snipped this out. Okay? So that I had this. And this was the background removal tool that I wanted to see. I'll bring that to the front. We'll take all of these parts apart here, and you can see that's got the background removed from it. Okay. All right, now let's take a look at these 2 images here. This image right here, the way I created this image, I'm going to delete this one. The way I created this image, and I've grouped them together so I could save them. And I'll show you why in just a minute. The group tool, if you're not using the group tool, you're missing maybe one of the best features that you could have. And that's just being able to capture a few things together in a group and be able to have them available whenever you need them, okay? So how many of you are currently using the group tool and use it frequently and find it to be one of the handiest things that you have? All right, so I'm going to ungroup this. You can see these are grouped together. You ungroup them right here. And now I have this. I'm going to show you the various components with this. So I started with this red ball, okay? This is simply, can you see which color red I have up here? It's this one right here. All right. And I took the red ball. Anybody know why I started with red if I want gold? Anybody know? I'm waiting for an answer. Why would I start with red if I want gold? That's what Ray nailed it. Red's the primary color, and red and yellow make, guess what? It makes gold. So I start with my primary color under here. It's basic color theory. You're exactly right. It is, you go back to the color wheel. We spent a couple of weeks with nothing but a color wheel. And we talked about what happens with color in the color wheel. Okay, so I always start with what's the primary color or something that's really close to that. And that's what I've done right here. Then I've taken the yellow and put over the top of it. Okay. And I probably won't position these correctly. So cut me a little slack today. But the first thing that I want to do is I want to add those two colors together. Now, I've reduced the opacity of this yellow. So again, that reduce the opacity tool becomes really important. All right. And if you're not using this, you're missing out on an amazing tool. So we'll put that right at about 40. And now I'm going to add over the top of it. And guess what color this is? I'm going to have to increase the opacity. But this color is, and what I did was I just started sneaking up here. I had red, I had yellow. What's in the middle of that? We got this kind of an orange color right here. Y'all may call these different than I do because I'm slightly colorblind. You say, what in the world are you doing this for if you're slightly colorblind? Because this is fun. Okay. So I just reduced the opacity of this. And then I did the other thing here, and that is I blurred the edge. Because blurring the edge does what? What does blurring the edge of this do? Let me help me with this. What's that going to blur? Do you see what blurring the edge does? Now it's achieving closer to that slightly metallic look, okay? Somehow, in the process of this, I lost my color gradient. The other thing is when you look at any metallic color, it's never totally, the opacity is never 100%. It changes as you look at it. If I'm looking at a ball, if I'm looking at a round ball, and I'm trying to, and I see a metallic color in it, then what happens is the color is more intense in the middle and it fades as it goes to the edges, right? So this is what I'm going to do, Tony, in case I lost that. And I think I did. I don't know how I did that, but in case I lost it, I'll take this and go back over here. The nice thing about being able to use these is I don't have to worry about what color was that. I'm just going to do this, put this on top of here. What I tried to do was make it smaller. So it probably popped it to the back. I wanted to have it just a couple of pixels difference around the outside edge of that. And I'll show you why when I put the blur on it. When I add the blur here, I want the blur. Can you see that? I don't know how well you can see this. But when I add the blur, what happens is if it's 100% is exactly the size of my original circle, then it makes the edges of my circle feathered out or blurry. So what I want to do is I want to reduce the size of that just slightly, and then I can add that there. Now, this color right here, let's take a look at this and I'll show you what this is. This color right here is not that color, I promise you. What this is it's this yellow right here, right? I put that there. Now, do you see what's happening? Here's the interesting thing. I can take this and I can move it down a little bit. I can achieve that. Now, I don't know how well you can see that, but have I come close to achieving a metallic ball now? And I've done it with some simple colors, but I took advantage of some simple tools. I could actually duplicate that again. Let's get rid of this one. I can actually duplicate this little one down here. I've got a layering image that took place. The one thing I really wish Useline had was a layer tool so that you would know where you were at. And all I can do is I can send it backwards and find out. See how that started to show up? Now, I want this little one right here. I'm still got the big one over the top of it. How do I get the big one on top of it? Again, like I said, if we could see the various layers here, it would be extremely beneficial. I'm gonna move that backwards a time or two to get the little ones out there. Now I want to take this one right here and move it like this. And I'm going to duplicate that. And I'm going to reduce the opacity of it. I'm going to change the size of it. So, pretty simple, pretty easy way to achieve something. Again, I don't believe this is something you want to spend a lot of time doing, but it's something that should be handy for you to be able to do. Okay? Does that make sense to everyone? Now, let's talk about that coffee cup for a minute and what we do with this coffee cup. Let me go over here to the coffee cup. And I took this coffee cup right here and I grabbed a vector circle. Last week when I showed you using the smiley face, I just need to let you know that I do this a lot. I mean, I use the vector images a lot for everything other than what they were intended to be used for. I'm gonna make this exactly the same size and you're gonna see what I saw a while ago. All right. Can you see the outside edge of this cup right here? Can you see it past the edge? That tells me that the cup is slightly skewed, slightly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on that and I'm going to pull this over. That circle is no longer perfect. Do you see what I did? I changed the circle so that it matches the top of the coffee cup. Now I'm going to save this. I can save it as a JPEG file. I'm going to upload it. I have to search for this, so give me a second. Now, for those of you who don't know, I've showed this several times. I name all my files the same thing because how many times am I going to need this file? I mean, literally, how many times am I going to need that file? Anybody have an answer to that question? I'm going to need it one time. So if I give it a unique name every time, you know what happens? I end up with hundreds of files on my laptop, not knowing where I'm going to, what's that and where did it come from and why do I have it saved? And that's a common complaint, and it's a whole lot easier to just make it right. Just make it the same name, and then every time I save it, it'll overwrite the previous one. Now, I have this right here, but I also have this. So let's get rid of all of this in the background so that it won't be in my way. And I'm going to take this. And now when I cut this out, it's going to match the exact profile that I had before. So I go to my background erase tool. And you can see that that gray is a good contrast to everything else here so that it doesn't confuse the background erase tool. I'm going to take this stuff right here and I'm going to remove that stuff right there. Got in too big of a hurry, sorry. And now it's taking a moment for this to initialize. But that's good. That gives me a chance to drown that frog that's in my throat. Let's just stop this and we'll start it over again. Remember, if you run into an issue on the first click, don't assume the tool was broke. Assume, it's always safe to assume I screwed something up. So what we're going to do is make sure that we have those parts saved, and we save and we cut that out. Now do you see what we have? Make sense? So now I have this, right? I want to put this in the middle of it. So what I'm going to do, take this background, get it out of the way, get this out of the way. And I'm going to hold down my shift key and I'm going to save that whole group. All right. I'm going to come over here. Where'd my group go? I got off the group. Sorry. I'm going to save that group. I'm going to go over to the group. And I'm going to grab this image and I'm going to put it in here. All right. Now, the first thing I'm going to do and I don't know how well you can see it, but they're still showing some of the and there was that noise again. And I moved that over there and I've solved the problem. Does that make sense to everybody? Following along with what I'm doing? So you heard it too, Bill. You understand why I saved it as a group? We'll ungroup this. We can make this a over here, it looks a little different. You can grab these pieces, start to layer them together, right? Okay, let's go to another piece. Let's do something else. Now you can do the same thing with an image in here. You can do the same thing, same tools, the same tricks, the same techniques all work. I can do this layering thing with somebody's image. Y'all saw the time that I put my daughter's picture in the middle of the coffee cup, and I accordioned that image coming out of the coffee cup. So there's lots of really cool things that you can do once you know a couple of things to be able to create the layers and then you can see what you can do with those layers. I showed you how to match this profile to the profile of the existing cup, all of that. So all of those things can become beneficial to you. Let's go to the next thing. And this was actually where I was messing with this right here and looking at the ad. So let's, I'm actually going to remove all of this text from this section right here. That's the background. We remove the background first. I'll move this right. We'll just get rid of all of this. So let's put a different background in here. I'm actually just going to use a background that I know we have. All right. So the next thing is I want to add a button to this. So come over to graphics. I'll pick a vector and I add a button. Because these are buttons and they're vectors, I can change the size without worrying about the pixelation, right? So the first thing that I want you to see is that this is a group. Do you see this right here? This came into the platform as a group. So I want to ungroup it so that I can change the color of that if I want to. All right. That's step one. I could do that. Now, I can change the color of this text as well. And I can make that the color of that text like this if I wanted to. So now I've changed the look of this button, but it's still a button. All right, question has already come up. Then can you make the button clickable? No, because it is now a part of the overall image. I have to code the image to make the image itself clickable, not the button can't be clickable, because that requires special coding to make the button clickable. But the only way, there's no way you can make a button, and this comes up all the time in the group, in other groups. People want to fuss and fight with you and tell you that they've seen a button that was clickable. No, you saw a coded button that was clickable. The only way you can do that, is that you have to write an HTML code that makes the button then perform a function. Does that make sense to everybody? I don't know why there's so much confusion about that, but I don't want anybody to think that there's some magic that you can do in Usesign that's going to make that button clickable. Just because we have button text doesn't mean that when you put it, it's going to be clickable. So make sure everybody understands that, because that seems to be a really, really common issue. And I see it everywhere. I don't see it just in Usesign. I see it. I literally see that as a problem everywhere. So make sure you understand that. That's the first thing. Second thing is that when you have a vector image like this, you're going to have you're going to have this, okay? You're going to have the option of being able to change multiple pieces of that, right? This happens to be the inside of the cuff and the 2 buttons and the hand color. So when I've clicked on this vector image, which has been added, when I click on this vector image, I can change the color right here. All right. So when I'm dealing with vector images, I may have multiple color changes that I can do based upon the components of that vector. Exactly right. If I were going to do this, what I would do is I would take this to my platform. I would code this image so that the image was clickable, and then I would have then anywhere that anybody would click on here would make the would perform the function that the button image itself is telling them is going to happen. You know, it might be, and we've got several options over here. It might be, let's do this. Might take them to a paid wall or something like that. How do I pick only one of the 3 images? This image right here is now a group, okay? I look up here, I see, oh, cool, that's a group. So now I click on the group. First thing that it highlights is this credit card because it's the top layer in that group. So now I can go over here and I see all 3 of these. So there's 3 places where I can change the color. And I'm going to do this first one so you can see it. Do you see that I changed that to blue? Now I'm going to change this one to red so you can see it. And it happens to be one of those 2 buttons down there at the bottom. Now, this background is also has 2 colors. The 2 colors, one of them is the primary color, which is the field right here. The other one is, can you see this down here at the bottom? The other one is the shadow. All right. I'm going to contrast those drastically so that you can see what I'm talking about. Do you see the shadow down here? That's to give it a 3D effect. So when you select the button, you've got some options of being able to change on that button. Like I could go back to this one over here, and I can take this one last white button, and I can make it and the strap up here at the top yellow. Okay. Now we have the option of a whole bunch of things. That was the buttons. What were the other 2 that I put in there? I put 2 others in there. I can't remember what they were. Hold on a second. Let me remind myself of what I put in here. I had 2 other options that I wanted to take you through. First one was the button. Oh, I know now. It was the logos. Sheila, you're paying careful attention this morning. Good. All right, now, so I've got logos right here. These are not intended to be your final logo. This is just the various ways to lay out the logos, okay? So let's just pick this one. Okay? And again, this is a composite. As you can see here, this is a composite of those pieces. Now, typical components of a logo is that there's an image, there's a company name, and then there's a tagline. So what we want to do is we want to take that apart. And now that I have it apart, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put my company name here. Now, here's how you achieve the earlier look. All right. Come back over here, and I'm going to get that same lime green color that we have right here. I like that color, by the way. I'm take that color right there. Now, on this image, and down here, who knows what goes down here? Right? So now I have a tagline. All right. I'm going to take this tagline. We'll make this a different color just because it's going to get confusing here in just a second. So let's take, I want to do a deep blue. And we'll make that tagline deep blue like that. I think this font's a little bit small. It's a little skinny because it's the Code Light font. All right. Now I'm going to do this. I'm going to leave it like that. Much easier to see, right? So I have a company name, I have a logo, or I have a company name. I have a tagline. Now I have a basic layout for a logo. Now when I click on this element, notice up here I have multiple colors inside of this element. So I can change those colors if I choose to do so, or I can change out the element completely, right? So let's just change the element completely, and we'll make it more in line with this. We'll go back over here, and in this case, we're going to pick, we'll pick an element. We might just pick an object here. I don't want to waste a bunch of time doing this. In this case, I'm just going to use this. I would never do this, by the way. Actually, if it was anything, it would be a light bulb. But I do want you to see this. Look at how many different colors that you have in here that you can change. And I'm going to use these various colors blue because it's a lot easier for you to see. I'm doing these by hard contrast so you'll be able to tell. But that's how you work with vector images, right? Any questions? Time for us to wrap up. I need to go see somebody who can fix the side of my head. Well, we hit the top of the hour. Looks like everybody left. All right, everybody have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time and attention on this Friday. And play. Find some time to just do what we did here and just play. Learn how each one of these tools works and where you find them at, what you can do with them. Push the limits of what you have, okay? I'll talk to you soon. Next Friday, same time, same place.